Hey, everybody. Welcome to 7 Minute Health Chat with Robin and Kim. And today, a special guest, Gary. We decided we wanted to bring someone in each week this month, if you didn't see my post, just to get perspectives about other topics from other people who might be experts on these topics. So Kim, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce Gary today.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm excited to have Gary Wilkin with us today. He is a certified licensed Ziglar coach, which you've heard of Zig Ziglar, you know what that is, and he'll explain a little bit more about that. And Zig Ziglar is kind of like the positivity guy, you know. So as far as that's always my thought of him. So we know Gary is going to bring a lot of positivity today. And Gary's going to talk about how, like, when we retire, what's next, how we can retire well. And I know many people that are watching may not be there yet, but if you're getting close to that or it's on your radar, no, we're never retiring.
No, right?
But I feel like it's something, or if you're making a pivot in your life, it doesn't even have to be a retirement. It can be making a pivot somehow. So anyway, so I'm going to take it over to let Gary take the show over now and talk about like exactly what he does and give us your top 3 tips, Gary.
Okay. So when we talk about retirement, it's not like our dad's retirement. We didn't just get a gold watch, go home, sit in the recliner and done. With the Great Resignation and all the things that are going on, we're not stopping, we're doing something different. And I think that's the key. As we remember, we talked about this. If you're retiring from something, you're headed down a dark path. You need to be retiring to.
Yeah.
And so my experience of 40 years in IT and saw all sorts of fun things. And about 3 years ago, I said, that's it. And I'm ready to go. And I realized at that moment, I didn't know what I was getting into. And so I took some time and started figuring things out. And over the last few years, I identified there's 3 things that our careers really, our corporate jobs or whatever, really gave us. First of all, they gave us our identity. Because think about, how do you answer the question? You meet someone new, you're at a party, what do you do? Well, your next 3 words are, I am a job title. And that our life was wrapped around what I am as a job title. And then you talk about, well, what are you good at? Well, I'm good at quarterly planning. I'm good at running meetings. I'm good at project planning. And you got good at these and you spent 20, 30 years getting good at it. And when you leave, no one really cares if you can do a project plan. Maybe, right?
Or a spreadsheet.
Or a spreadsheet, but we use that a lot more often. And the other thing our career really provided us was a routine. And this really drove what we did with whom. We have our daily, weekly, and monthly routines and who we did them with. And so when we leave our corporate world, now who are we? What are we good at? And what's my schedule look like? And so that's the nut of things that we have to take some time to figure that out. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, routine. That's me.
Oh yeah. And so and when we talk about, so the first thing we said, we lost our identity, because now when people ask you what you do, you can't say I was a former, or I'm retired, or I don't know, I play pickleball all day, whatever. I've had that. Now we get to choose, we get to build, we get to define what our identity is. This is the kind of the fun work, but the hard work, but the good work of retirement is now it's future based. What's our purpose? What do I want to be, do, and have in the future? And the best way to create this is just take some time thinking on paper and start going through all the things you wanted to do and just start spending some time and working through it. Then the next thing we said we lost was our competence, project planning. But we need to leverage our skills in new ways. Back when we were working, this was called innovation. Now it's called, this is fun. How can I use this skill in a different way? For me, I was an analyst. I asked questions. I was the guy that modeled Columbo and had to tell all my younger cohorts to go Googling and to ask questions. And so now as a coach, I get to ask a lot of questions and have fun drawing things out of people. And so as you start recreating your competence, look at what you used to do, how can you use them in new ways, but then look back to what it is you want to be in the future and say, what's my gap? What do I need to learn? And this is the fun part of retirement. We can learn new stuff. But the thing we have to remember, and this is the hard thing, this is a really hard thing for me, is that you have to be willing to be bad at something until you get good. And
Preach.
It's like I finally pulled my guitar back out and I'm going like, I'm playing Jailhouse Rock, on a $5,000
awesome.
guitar, right?
I love it. I love it. Gary, I want to say one thing when you talked about identity. I'll tell the story quickly about my husband, Jim, who retired 8 years ago, and he was a workaholic. He was he's a type A personality. And they said, he got some counseling from his financial advisor saying, hey, you got to figure out what you're retiring to. It's not what you're retiring from. And he goes, well, I didn't come here for, advice, life advice. He goes, well, I'm telling you. And you know what? That was the best advice Jim got, because he realized he loved to cook. He retired on a Friday. He started culinary school the following Monday, went to culinary school for 2 years. And now he volunteers and he is on a board for a rescue food kitchen here in Cincinnati. And so he's using his corporate skills on the board, and he's using his cooking skills too, helping. And he just loves to cook for friends and family, but not go to work, but just all the volunteer stuff. So anyway, but having that identity, then he had his, when you said, like, when you go to parties, people ask what you do. He had cards made up, like, what's your superpower? I'm a chef, so he parlayed that into what he's doing now, which is being a chef and the fun part of that. So to your point, everything you've said was spot on, like what we experienced.
Yeah. And so for all of you out there, if you have a financial advisor that asks you that question, send them a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've talked to several of the financial advisors and they've established rapport for the same reason. They see the problems that people retire from and kind of wind down a dark road. They don't want that. You got to have something to move on to.
Exactly. So that brings me to a question for you. Okay. So there are people that I know that are getting close to retirement and they say they're done. They just want to be done. They don't want to do anything. They want to rest, relax. They want to fish. They want to golf. They want to play pickleball all day. So what do you say to that person and there could be people, like, if somebody's out there watching right now, and if you have a question, please put it in the comments, because I'm watching the comments. But for me, like, I don't want that, but I know I've heard other people talk like that. So what do you tell them? Or what would you suggest?
Well, first of all, you have 3 to 5 weeks before you go completely insane.
That's what I figured. It sounds good until it happens, right?
Yeah, because your 5-iron is going to fail you 3 times out of 4. So, that type of thing. But what I say is that you don't have, I think what a lot of people are reacting to is having wall-to-wall meetings and busy and 5, 6, 7 days a week. And you're thinking, I'm done with that. Well, the last thing we talked about is our schedule routine. You need to establish a schedule routine with kind of a daily routine with some weekly goals that doesn't feel like action-packed, your Outlook calendar wall to wall to wall, but you need to make sure you do 3 things. You need a morning habit that keeps you thinking, keeps you active, and keeps you interacting with people. And thinking, reading, doing something that keeps your mind going, keeps you active. Get off your butt and go for a walk or do something, but you need to keep moving, and you need to start interacting with people, because that's the one thing that a lot of corporate folks really struggle with. And all the folks I've talked to is we're lonesome. Because I used to walk into an office with 40, 50, 60 people, whatever. And now there's not that many people around. And so think, move, and interact with people. And beyond that, I don't care what you do, but you got to do that much. And the fun part is you'll find something. And
it's about exploration and seeing, hey, what's out there? What do I really like to do? Finding your passion, So
and I think and just remember, it's not the last decision or choice of what you're going to do. Remember when we were 18, 19, 20, and we were thinking, I'm going to be this when I grow up, and we left that a long time ago. You got to make multiple choices now too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everything evolves, and I think in a good way, because you get it now. You get to make more choices or different choices than you before. You had to be even more responsible. Now you can be like, oh, you know what? I'm not responsible for this or that. I can like do what I do, kind of my own thing now, which I think is
Right.
kind of neat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. That was really good. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Gary? Or go
Yeah, I
ahead.
was going to say that we're over the 7 minutes,
Okay,
but is there,
okay.
if there's one more thing you would love to give us or a tip, or we would
Well,
love to hear it.
I think the thing is just take it a step at a time and give yourself some grace and just be and stop. The one thing you have to do no matter what you do every day is be grateful. And if you're down,
Love that.
just be grateful and take a time, because the more you notice that you're grateful for, the more you'll have to be grateful for. So
Yeah.
that's my close.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good reminder every day. Yes, thank you. Well, Gary, tell our audience how they can find you.
Two places are probably the easiest one. You can go over to myretirementmission.com, like the longest URL in history. And from there, you can see some of the things I've written, and you can set up a 20-minute chat if you want, that type of thing. Or go over to LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is just search for Gary Wilkin, Wilkin. And I write fairly regularly, and as a licensed Ziglar coach, I just love reading Zig Ziglar. So I've got all these quotes, and I tell a little story and ask you questions. So, if you want, connect or reach out or whatever, and I'd love to help you out. So,
Hey, you're friends with Kim on Facebook, right?
yes.
So when we're done with this, if you would just go in the comments and put all your information in there, then people could find it real easy. That would be great.
Oh, that'd be perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Gary. This
All
has
right.
been really, really fun for us, and I'm sure for our listeners as well. So thanks for all the tips. I appreciate it. And from that, we will say goodbye till next week. Happy Wellness
right.
Wednesday, everybody.
Thanks, Gary.
Hey.
Bye-bye.